Whether it's behind the wheel of a car or the controls of a train, it is never good to speed. Most of the time, these cause horrific crashes which can often lead to serious injuries or death. Sometimes these are caused by mechanical failure, like the 1989 San Bernardino train disaster, where a Southern Pacific freight train going down Cajon Pass lost its brakes and went too fast around a curve, derailing and destroying a neighborhood. However, most of the time, these accidents are caused by human error, like the 2015 Frankfurt Junction train derailment, where the Amtrak engineer sped up to 106 miles an hour instead of slowing down and derailed. As such was the case in Canada 11 years ago today. This is the story of the Burlington, Ontario train derailment. On the afternoon of February 26, 2012, Via Rail Train 92 was making its scheduled run from Niagara Falls to Toronto. The train consisted of F40PH 6444, which was pulling 5 LRC coaches, 75 passengers, 3 locomotive engineers, and 1 service attendant were on board the train. Its next stop, Aldershot Station. After around 7 minutes, the train departs Aldershot Station. The train is on track 2, which is the track that trains typically use when departing the station. However, unbeknownst to the crew of the Via Rail, there is a work crew up ahead performing routine maintenance on track 2. They will be routed through a crossover onto track 3, but the Via Rail crew doesn't know this. Thinking that they'll remain on track 2, they accelerate to 67 miles an hour and pass a slow to limited signal, instructing them to slow down to 15 miles an hour to enter the crossover. They spot the work crew and sound the horn. At that moment, the train reaches the crossover and derails. The locomotive and first coach tip onto their sides, fall down the embankment, and collide with an adjacent building. 2 more coaches also derail. Following the derailment, there is a scene of utter chaos. The locomotive lies on its side, battered and destroyed. The passenger coaches are derailed and strewn all over the place. Dozens of passengers are trapped inside of them. It takes emergency crews 3.5 hours to rescue all of the passengers. The cab of 6444 is crushed and destroyed after colliding with the building, killing all 3 crew members inside of the cab instantly. In addition, 46 passengers were injured, 3 of them suffering serious injuries that required them to be airlifted to hospitals. Following the accident, Canada's Transportation Safety Board launched an investigation. It found out that the crew in the cab were likely distracted for some reason or another, and they failed to observe the signals instructing them to slow down. The train entered the crossover too fast, lost its balance, and tipped over, causing the derailment. In the end, the accident would be blamed on the Via Rail crew's failure to properly observe the signals and to adequately slow the train down. But here's a question. Doesn't technology to prevent errors like this exist? It does, and it exists in the form of positive train control, where, by using a complex system of satellites, signal data, and computers, controls a train's speed by looking at where it's going and if there are any trains, signals, or speed restrictions ahead. If a train is above a speed limit, going too fast past a yellow signal or passes a red one, or is on a collision course with another train, PTC will apply the brakes and slow the train down or stop it entirely if the engineer fails to do so. However, while this system has been implemented here in the United States, it has not been implemented in Canada, which means that Canadian trains are more prone to human error and, as a result, accidents caused by it. Transport Canada has recently started talking about an automatic train control system for Canadian trains, which they have dubbed Enhanced Train Control, and hopefully it will be implemented in the near future. F40PH 6444 and the front two coaches were a total loss and were written off. 11 years later, and lessons have certainly been learned, but unfortunately, distracted crews are still a thing. Which begs the question, can an accident like this happen again? Let's hope for that to not be the case.